Welcome to Blind Spots, the podcast that uncovers what's hidden in plain sight. I'm your host, Laura Malvoyant, and today we're diving into the topic that affects us all: the true cost of convenience. I'm talking about applications that allow us to have what we want straight away. This could be a food delivery service, Amazon, or anything that implicates warehouse workers and the gig economy in general. Now, I'm also going to cover the perspective from the blind community because, being somebody who is visually impaired, we are relying a lot on this gig economy, and it's not because we don't want to go to the store, but it does cause an extra complication when you can't drive or access public transportation. Now, the first topic I wanted to go over is the gig workers. These are the delivery drivers. They are the backbone of your on-demand world. According to MIT, the average DoorDash driver, for example, earns between $2 and $10 an hour after expenses. That's less than a fast food worker, but with none of the benefits. No healthcare, no paid leave, no workers' comp if they crash their cars. And unfortunately, gig drivers are more likely to crash their cars. In fact, they are 3 times more likely to crash their cars. So this is a huge risk that they're taking just to deliver your food. And on top of that, if they complain, they're deactivated, fired by the algorithm. No appeal, no warning, and just gone. There's even a story on gigworkersrising.org that a driver was deactivated for taking too long because he stopped to help a woman having a seizure. No appeal and no warning. For me, this is insane. I can't believe that we're at this point in society that we prioritize delivering items, food, things from Amazon, what have it, and human lives just don't matter. Even somebody helping somebody gets fired. This puts us in a precarious situation, I think, as a society, and we really need to take a step back and think, is it truly worth it? Now, besides the gig workers, we also have to think about the warehouse workers. And we're really going to focus on the Amazon workers because there is a lot of data backing up the poor working conditions at this particular company. For example, Amazon workers get injured at double the industry average. Why? Because they're forced to lift 400 boxes an hour or risk being fired for time off task, or TOT as they say. If they get hurt, tough. Amazon's injury rate is 6.5 per 100 workers, compared to just 3.3 in other warehouses, according to OSHA. That's not an accident, that's a business model. And as somebody who was using Amazon quite frequently, I stopped using Amazon a couple months ago. I stopped subscribing to Amazon Prime. And generally, when I need to order something, I try to research other options, either go to a store in person or order from a company, which may take a bit longer than Amazon would. This may take a week or even longer. But I keep in mind the true cost of convenience. I'm willing to sacrifice a few days for a delivery driver that is treated fairly, paid well, and warehouse workers that are also treated fairly. Now, I want to preface this that I live in France. There are a lot more worker protections, but things like this still happen at Amazon warehouses, even in France. A lot of workers are not allowed to take bathroom breaks when they want to and are forced, again, to reach that quota of per hour packages. This puts a lot of strain on the human body. Our bodies aren't made to pick up packages, and at a rate of 400 per hour, of course things are going to happen. People are going to hurt their backs. Our exoskeletons just aren't made for this type of work. But Amazon doesn't care. We're quite easily replaced. And I've worked in many companies where I've been told to my face that you're easily replaceable, and I can imagine that the Amazon workers feel the same way. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like things are getting better. People are being replaced by robots, of course, but the more precarious tasks, such as climbing high shelves or obtaining even heavier items, could be left to humans still yet today. I think when we look at companies like Amazon as a whole, the way they treat their employees is definitely something that we need to take into mind when ordering from companies like this or giving our money to companies like this. And it's something that I've definitely taken some time to consider, that it's not worth the cost. It's not worth the cost of the convenience, yes, to receive my item the same day or the next day, that it puts on the employees, and the business as a large is really not a good company. I think that with being intentional of where you buy your items and which companies you support, you can make a better environment for those workers and really support companies that treat their workers well. Now, if I receive a package from Amazon, I'm going to think of the true costs behind that package. Did I break somebody's back for this package? Did the delivery driver get in an accident, or was he prevented from having a bathroom break when he needed it? And these things need to go into our thought process when taking part in the convenience culture model. Now, one question that had arisen a couple weeks ago when I was having a discussion on a blind hike that I go on weekly was the time-saving lie. In the convenience culture, we're sold this lie that we can use these applications to save time. But what are we going to do with that time? What do you do with that extra time you get? Do you spend it with your family? Do you partake in a hobby? And I found that a lot of people, similar to myself, we were spending more time maybe doom scrolling on our devices rather than putting that time to productive use. Studies show that the average person spends about 2 hours and 24 minutes a day on social media. That's 37 days a year. That's insane. And that's the average. So you got to assume people are spending a bit more time. I know for myself, when I was in an extreme state of addiction for my social media and smartphone in general, I was spending up to 8 to 10 hours a day. So I can only imagine how many days a year I wasted on my device. And for what? For a dopamine hit, a fleeting laugh, a momentary escape from the monotony we created by outsourcing our lives to algorithms. I ask this question a lot. What are we doing on our devices and why? Our devices are designed to suck us in and take that time away from us. And convenience culture has kind of slipped into essentially give an illusion that we're getting that time back. But in the end, we're just giving our time back to our devices and other applications. So keep this in mind when you're doom scrolling and using these particular applications. I saw recently somebody had posted on Reddit that they ordered groceries to save time and then spent that free time watching TikTok. Another person said that they used Uber to save time and they spent time arguing with strangers online. So we automate our chores and then we fill those chores with more consumption. And this is something we need to take a look at personally, of course, but as a society as a whole. What are we using that time for? And is it really worth the convenience? I know for myself, since I've gone on the journey of digital minimalism and now more focused on digital intentionalism, I had a lot of extra time on my hands. So much time that I didn't know what to do with it. For the first time in my life, I was bored and I had to figure out what I wanted to do in my free time that didn't relate to a screen. This meant picking up hobbies, trying old hobbies, and really trying to learn who I am and what I like. And this is something I think a lot of people have forgotten. Our devices kind of put us in a state where we don't have to think about what we like or don't like. We're told by algorithms what to like, what to buy, and what we should really care about. And honestly, it doesn't matter in the end. If you're off your device, you really can focus on the small things, whether that's taking care of your home, spending time with your family, or picking up reading, or anything else that is not related to your device. It can be quite challenging and even frustrating at times. We're not used to being bored like we used to be. And being bored is a vector of creativity. I find that when I'm bored, I'm at my most creative state. My brain is free to roam and think of ideas. And even if those ideas aren't necessarily good and I look back at them, it still gives me a liberty to think for myself and really create something that is my own and hopefully my own, because sometimes it's hard to think what is truly our ideas or what has been fed to us subconsciously through applications. The convenience culture has promised us freedom, more time, but instead it has given us more time to be passive, more time to be distracted, more time to be alone rather than together. And the worst part is we don't even realize it because the apps to save our time are the same ones stealing our attention. It's a cycle, a trap, kind of a convenience paradox. So next time you use a convenience app, ask yourself, What do you do with that time that you saved today? And was it worth the cost? Now, another perspective is the blind and visually impaired. For the blind and visually impaired, these apps aren't just conveniences, they're lifelines. Grocery delivery means independence, ride sharing means freedom, voice assistance means access to information. But what happens when the lifeline becomes a leash? Tech companies market these tools as solutions, but they rarely ask, what are we solving for? Is it freedom when you can order groceries but can't walk to the store because sidewalks aren't safe? Is it connection when you can video call a friend but can't meet them because public transit isn't accessible? Is it empowerment when you can work remotely but can't get hired because the office software isn't compatible with your screen reader? We're told these apps level the playing field, but sometimes they just move the goalpost. Because unfortunately, convenience isn't the same as inclusion, and isolation isn't the same as independence. So, yes, we celebrate these tools that give us agency, but never forget true accessibility isn't about apps, it's about a world that doesn't require them. And the more and more I spend time with others in the blind community, the more we relate on this subject. It's very easy to fall into the convenience culture because it does make it easier to live more independently, but it also makes our world a bit more isolated. It's very difficult to motivate yourself to leave the house, to walk when your sidewalks aren't safe, when transit is not accessible, or when you just don't know how to get out and about by yourself. A lot of people in the community stay in their homes and don't go out in public, either out of fear or out of just being unsure and just not having the tools and the knowledge on how to get around town on their own. So I think these apps can enable some of us to stay more and stay longer in our homes without venturing out and interacting with people. And I do see this as a big negative from self experience, but I can see this as a problem for a lot of disabilities. And every time we mention something like this, for example, I can say I can't drive, and people say, well, Uber exists. You can take Uber. And yes, that is true, but that has a cost. And a lot of disabled, and especially people in the blind community, don't have jobs. A lot of us rely on social benefits and savings, and the money that we have, we don't want to throw it at convenience culture. We don't want to pay those high fees to have food delivery services. We just don't have that disposable income that the working population does. And I think people need to take this into perspective in regards to convenience culture. Convenience is expensive. It's not only expensive in a monetary sense, but it's also expensive for the people involved in the economy itself, whether it be the gig workers, the warehouse workers, even the people making these products that we're purchasing. There's so much human cost at a point. We have to decide, is it truly worth it? And in some cases, yes, of course, to have more inclusion and be able to have your groceries is a definite benefit for a lot of people. But it is also a benefit to learn how to live in society with people, to go interact in certain stores. And even if you're not getting your item straight away, I think we need to unlearn these habits of instant gratification. Maybe we weren't meant to have everything right now in the moment. And even though our brains love this feeling of ordering something and then receiving it straight away, maybe we need to unlearn and teach our brain delayed gratification, the art of waiting and patience, and some things that we've kind of lost along the way. And applications, tech companies in general, they have sold us a lie, I believe. And the cost that we're paying for it, whether, of course, be the human cost, the environmental cost, might be too big. So, with all of this, what is the solution? And I think the solution is different for everybody. Some people may choose to boycott Amazon, quit DoorDash, but this may not be possible for everybody. And I think the answer is simpler. We need to see the humans behind the convenience. Even if you're using these applications, just don't forget the cost behind it and just be aware of when you're consuming items online or ordering things that there is a cost behind that. And next time you tap order now, ask yourself who's really paying for this and is it worth it? That's it for this episode of Blind Spots. I want to thank you so much for listening and tune in next week for another episode.